RichBody, health, fitness, lifestyle.
Welcome to the RichBody Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Carouse. You can follow the RichBody Podcast on richbody.ca. Follow us on Instagram and on Facebook at RichBody. My guest today is the owner and founder of Aeryon Wellness. She's a speaker. She's a #1 best-selling author, an on-air radio personality, and a holistic health coach. Welcome, Aeyron Ashlie.
Hello, welcome. Thank you. I know everybody always mixes the Aeryon and the Ashlie
Yeah.
and the Aeryon. So I have some people who just call me double A.
Oh, I like that. Double A. I like that one.
They're like double A. So
Yep.
I'll take that too.
And Aeryon is spelled Aeryon, which is another. So you're hitting us with the two names and the weird spelling on the first name.
I know it's actually it's energetically balanced, believe it or not. It's based on astrology and numerology. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for being a guest on the show today. I'm intrigued by a lot of the things that you do. I've been following you for a lot of years. I think we met years ago in Vegas at the Olympia, one of the expos there. And we've kind of crossed paths in the industry. We've worked with a lot of the same people. So I'm really happy to have you on. And, I'm excited to talk about a lot of the things that you've got going on. You've got some really, really exciting things going on that really kind of, opened up, made me excited about it because I work with a lot of women in the industry. I've coached, athletes. I've coached, average women who just kind of want to get in shape, new moms, all that kind of stuff like that. And the #1 thing that, we always get into is, hormones, hormone imbalance, how I feel, how I sleep, my energy, all that kind of stuff like that. Yeah. So when I was, following you and seeing all the stuff that you were working on, I thought, you know what, this new product that you just came out with is amazing because it's kind of a all-in-one where,
really
women are really, really looking a lot for everything that's in this product. So tell us a little bit about it. It's called Reclaim, and you just launched it last week.
We
Congratulations
did.
on
Launched
that.
it last Monday. So kind of a different time to be launching something in the midst of everything that's going on. However, when we are stressed, we obviously need to take care of our hormones because that's going to affect our hormones as well. Absolutely. So even more important. So Don Gavro is my formulator. You're obviously very familiar with Don Gavro. He's been in the industry known as the supplement godfather. So we've been working together on this brand. Actually, we started working about 5-6 years ago together because I had the idea then. And it took me actually getting packaged out from a previous company to finally give me the opportunity to step in and do what I really have always wanted to do. And each of the products I have really stem from my own personal issues. So Reclaim is not only mood support, but it also has immune support in there, which is really important. And Dawn and I were talking about it the other night. We did a Instagram live on it. And I believe now going forward, every product that will probably hit the market is going to have some component of immune support because that's really been brought to the forefront. So there's
especially with what's going on right now, immunity,
COVID, right?
Yep.
And then we also have the hormonal support in there too. So of course we have calcium deglucarate in there, which is an awesome liver detox. So that's really going to help your body get rid of those extra estrogen metabolites. So in our body, if we are taking the birth control pill for one thing, or if you are coming in contact with plastics or makeup, we're constantly getting xenoestrogens and all these different excess estrogen in our body, and our body can't flush it out fast enough, really. So it ends up kind of sweeping back into your system. So the idea is with this and having that calcium glucarate in there, that's going to help support your liver in getting that out, right, and flushing that out of your body. Then we have green tea extract in there too. Of course, we know that's a wonderful antioxidant. That's another skin and liver support as well. So that hormonal acne people are getting, that's going to help with that. And then we've got broccoli. So I can't say it. I'm going to read it. Sulforaphane extract. I can say it. I swear. Sometimes I get tongue tied on words. So this one's antioxidant, antimicrobial, anti-aging as well. So that's going to help with your skin. And we know for a fact that broccoli and dim, those are from the cruciferous vegetables. Those really help with excess estrogen and balancing that estrogen testosterone balance. So we have that in there. Really, if I look at it, I brought it into a lot of my stores, and there's still more. And they look at the ingredients like, wow, this is a really good formula. And these are
it's a lot. It's an all-in-one. There's so many different things in it. That's what intrigued me about it when I read the ingredients. And I thought, wow, I recommend a lot of these supplements individually to a lot of women, and they're all in one here.
All in one. Yeah. And then you've got resveratrol as well. That's going to help balance estrogen. And it's also, of course, another antioxidant. But the cool thing we have in there that is different than anything else is the St. John's wort. So with this product, I kind of call it the hormonal supplement you can feel, because like so it's right here, but I feel it within an hour of taking it. Like, and I'm not even joking. And I've given it to a couple of my girlfriends because I've been taking it for about 3 months prior to this. I had my own prototype made. I always like to make sure I like it. And plus I'm spending a lot of money on making this. So if I didn't like it, it wouldn't be good. So I've been taking it now for 3 months. What I noticed the first time I took it was in the first hour, you feel different. Your mood's elevated because St. John's wort is such a powerful herb, right? It helps with anxiety, depression. And a lot of women, when we're going through our cycles, can have those mood swings, right? Yeah. So, and especially women coming off the birth control pill, like that's why we did the product Reset, which is a hormonal detox, to take that to support you get off the birth control pill. And then this is going to help you once you're done with your birth control pill as well, because it's going to help with that mood. Then we put white yam in there for PMS, which is unique. We've also got B6 for progesterone estrogen balance. We got chaste tree in there as well. And then you've got the last one is the immune support component. We got zinc in there, 5 milligrams of zinc. Yep. And then we also have astragalus, which is known as a lung tonic. So it's kind of the perfect timing to have astragalus in there. We have astragalus in the Restore as well. But the big thing is you can actually feel it. You feel your mood elevated. You feel a little better. And I think when you're struggling with hormonal issues, that's what you want. You just want to kind of feel like, oh, okay, I feel better. And I mean, even though I've been in the industry for probably 15, going on 18 years now, I take my greens every day, and I'm not a big supplement taker, to be quite honest with you. I eat lots of really healthy food. That's a big message behind Aeryon Wellness, is holistic health, which means eating well. We give everybody a free 7-day meal planner with every single purchase you buy, because we really want it. We want that to be a really big part of the brand, is that we want you to eat well. But I set my alarm to take this. Even if I'm laying in bed upstairs and I forgot to take it, I actually get up, go downstairs before I go to sleep and take it.
And how many times a day are you taking it right now?
Well, so this is the thing. You can take 1-2 times a day. Because of St. John's wort, you don't want to take the 2 together, because otherwise you almost feel like hyper happy almost. But I take 1 in the morning, and to be honest with you, 1's been good for me right now.
And you're not feeling almost like you're taking a stimulant, right? You feel good in the sense of
feel happy. Like really, and I will also say as well, is if you are on anti-anxiety medication, if you are taking medication for depression or whatnot, anything that's serotonin, it's going to help build your serotonin in your body, you want to check with your doctor first, because it can have contraindications. Because St. John's wort is such a powerful herb and has such huge benefits, you want to make sure with anything, if you're taking any medication, to always cross-check with your doctor. But Dawn and I are actually going to be doing a live on mushrooms as well. So really talking about using more natural medicine to help with anxiety and depression and whatnot, instead of going right to pharmaceuticals. And then you could take something along those lines, and something like Reclaim.
You mentioned two key things there that I want to touch upon. So one was in the beginning, you had talked about estrogen, and I don't think I found a lot of women don't realize how many different products that they use affect their estrogen. Right. Yeah, so, I mean, in the soaps and the shampoos and even in lotions, hand lotion, body lotion, all that kind of stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cleaners, rug cleaners, dry cleaning, get your clothes dry cleaned. Yep. I mean, in our household, I've now made, especially tampons, pads, all those things as well, start looking more organic, more natural. I have an 11-year-old, so we are not into that zone yet with her, but I made the switch as well. So there's not bleach. We really want to become a lot more conscious of what's going on, because it's not only what we're eating, but what we're putting on our skin. I mean, this is our, one of our most biggest organs, right? So we're absorbing everything. And my mom, when I used to do fitness shows and I do the spray tan, because my mom takes her progesterone, she has progesterone cream. She takes it on her skin, and she used to say to me, Erin, and I'm like, I only do it once a year. Like, it's not like I'm spray tanning constantly, but she said the chemicals in that are so hard on your system, right? We don't really realize how much we're putting on our system. So I think it's 160 chemicals before a woman walks out the doors, like perfume, makeup, lipstick, you know what I mean? Hairspray, on and on and on, right? Yeah. So really making sure that you're watching the stuff that you're using, maybe trying to make that more natural switch is really big. I think really big important.
And it's huge. And and a lot of women struggle with estrogen imbalance and hormone imbalance in general, and try. Obviously, you go to the doctor and you say, I'm not feeling well, and this is how I'm feeling. And they go the pharmaceutical route right away. But paying attention to all those things around us, what we're doing in our house, what we're doing, putting on our body, and taking supplements like the one that you just you were just discussing, it helps a lot, right? And people don't really understand how much control they actually have. The other thing you talked about was diet. Obviously, we know from being fitness athletes how crucial and important diet is, not only to how you look, but how you feel, right? Just as with the products that we're putting on our skin, on our hair, on our makeup, whatever it is, in the food as well, right? Because there's so many different foods that affect your estrogen, that affect your hormone levels, the sugars, the salts, all that kind of stuff like that. And I find that, you know, women really, really struggle with that imbalance, and they just really don't know how, and they're not realizing that it could probably 70 or 80% of it is coming from what you're doing, not because your body's not functioning properly, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's that, and it's also mindset too, right? Like we have Restore, which is our stress product. But when I do my webinars on, you know, stress, and women from ages like 20 to 40, let's say around that age zone, when we are, I mean, I'm guilty of this. I'm a personality. I'm a driver. I'm all the time balls to the wall. Like that's really just how I function. And I realize it's kind of who I am.
I'm like that too. I got too much energy.
It's like nonstop. So at the end of the day, though, doing that's actually going to affect the amount of cortisol my body's pumping out, how my adrenals, how I'm treating my adrenals, which are responsible for my cortisol, is going to affect my menopause. So it's really important that as younger women, 20 to 30, when you know you're doing everything all the time, that you sit back a second and really start taking some self-care, because if you're going to tax your adrenals, that's going to make your menopause all the more worse, right? So that's a really important thing too. But when I do my talks, you can hook yourself up to all the ashwagandha in the world, but if you're not actually controlling the thoughts in your head, and really, you know, that's where stress really begins, right? And that's going to affect your cortisol, which is going to affect your melatonin production, which is going to affect your adrenals, which is going to affect your menopause. So it's just this, you know, really interlaced whole mechanism that ends up happening, but it all starts here, then it's nutrition, then it's supplementation. That's kind of how I really, that's why I think holistic is a really important part of this. It's not just take a pill. It's not just eat clean. It's, you have to start changing the way you're thinking. You have to start being more present and be more mindful. You have to start eating good foods, and then you support yourself with really good, high quality supplements. Yeah. I mean, then that's when you kind of have the better picture for all of it. That makes sense to me.
And I'm glad you touched on that, because the mental aspect is so important. Not just, I mean, for everyday life, for everything you do, right? You and I discussed this previously, and it's such a huge, important thing. And I try to stress that so much, that, you know, having that positive mental attitude and that positive outlook really, really helps, especially, you know, not only for women, but for men as well too, because when you're stressed, even subconsciously, when people say, well, I'm not stressed, I feel fine. But subconsciously, if you're under a lot of stress, you know, and you're bottling it up, and you don't know that your cortisol levels are all whacked. And for women, your estrogen gets all whacked, and everything's just kind of all over the place, and you just don't know where it's coming from. And, you know, I think I read once a really good analogy of stress. It's like, you know, if you put a cup of water under a tap and it just drips and drips, you're not noticing the drips every day. You're not. But over time, that cup is going to get right to the top, and that very last drip is going to make it overflow. And that's when it starts to come out. And that's when you start to feel stressed. But as the cup is getting filled, you're not feeling that. And that's why people say, well, no, I'm not stressed, I feel fine. But really, underneath it all, it's that buildup of all that stress, right? So it's really, really important to have that mindset first, like you said, and then nutrition. Nutrition is key. And I have said this many times, and I'll continue to say it, that I will make sure somebody knows how to eat properly first before you even start going to the gym. Because 100%. I get people that have never been to a gym, you know, you get fed up with how they feel, how they look, and they say, okay, I'm ready to go to the gym. Can you write me a program? Like, show me your diet. How are you eating first? Yeah. Well, I want to go to the gym first, and then I'll start feeling good. And once I start to lose weight a little bit, I'm going to go. I said, no, it starts with the diet.
Yeah, right. Everything starts with diet. I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the mindset things. There's a really cool stat that I have that, you know, every thought we think, our brain releases a chemical. So when we're thinking negative thoughts, it actually dims your brain, and that's what actually causes depression. So it's the chemical released is when you're thinking negative thoughts, will actually kind of dim the light in your brain, I guess. That's the best way to kind of put it. When you're thinking positive, positive, optimistic thoughts, the chemicals actually encourage your body to create more serotonin, which is that happy mood, right? That neurotransmitter it's in our gut, makes you happy. And so then that's going to reduce your cortisol. So even just that, like catching yourself when you're thinking a negative thought, and especially right now with COVID, my mom and I were talking about this with, I am very much like, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to start focusing more online. This is an opportunity for us to grow. This is an opportunity for us to, she's always wanted to be homeschooled. And I'm like, here you go.
Now's the opportunity, right?
For it, right? Here's your opportunity.
Yeah.
And I said to my mom, I said, luckily for her, that's very much how I operate in life. Is just an opportunity. Yes, I can have moments, but I'm like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, out, done, right? Change my thought process. Yeah. And so with her, she's not stressed or upset about all this, but I could understand if you were a young kid living in a family, maybe who is fear-based, right? And what that ends up happening. So not only is it going to make you fearful about what's going on right now, but then that's going to affect your body, how your body feels, how it's digestion, how you're, everything all the way down the line. So it really is the mindset. And as you said, nutrition, and then movement. And then, looking at how you can support yourself with other nutrients.
Yeah.
So,
you know what, your body and your mind doesn't know the difference between something in reality. So if you actually go through an extremely stressful, traumatic incident and your body reacts to it, or if you make yourself believe in your mind that something's going to happen in the future, your body reacts the same way. Your body doesn't know if it's actually happened or not. So that's a powerful, powerful thought to think like, my body's going to react the same way if I just tell myself this is going to happen, or if it actually happens. It's the same reaction. So we can control how our bodies react to all that stuff.
Yeah. And how our body, like it just is, I just find that the most fascinating part of all of it. I mean, I love supplementation, but I think it's because based on, and we were talking about like my book and whatnot before, for me to work through my eating disorder and get to where I am today, it was not supplementation and nutrition and movement. It was, I had to break it down to, what am I thinking every single day? Cognitive behavioral therapy, my thoughts create my feelings, create my actions or non-actions. And that is, to me, why every single seminar I do, it's always mindset first. I really go through that because I want people to understand that even with exercise, even with wanting to lose weight, like we know that unless you get this right and how you're thinking things, and there's all the different types of strategies you can use, but it is just the most important thing for
everybody. I love that. I love that you put those three together like that, and you've got the mindset thing first, because I'm a huge believer in that. So you've got a couple of other products here that's kind of falling into exactly what we're talking about. So you've got Restore, which is your stress support. You've got your Reset, which is a detox, and your Snooze, which is your sleep support. So give us a little bit of insight on those. So those kind of all fit into exactly what we were just talking about.
Exactly. So Restore was our kind of first one that we did. And that was really after I came out of my eating disorder and I kind of went through all the healing. I just found my adrenals were completely zapped, right? My body wasn't responding the way I wanted to. And so we formulated our Dawn formulated Restore. We made it, it's a little different. I'll tell you a couple of the different things that's in it. We use KSM 66 ashwagandha. So that's the root. That's what you want to have, because that's actually going to give you the benefits of ashwagandha. There's two different types, and the other ashwagandha sensorial tends to be made more of the stem, and your body doesn't absorb that as much. You really want the root. So we paid quite a bit of money, or I paid quite a bit of money. Say we, but to have that KSM 66. And we're actually on their website as one of the Canadian companies that have that in their products. So it's kind of cool. And then he put in, which is a really unique product in both Snooze and Restore, is Chinese hawthorn. So it actually helps with digestion, because gut health obviously is a very important factor in also with estrogen and estrogen balancing and all that other kind of stuff. And with your mood, because your serotonin's produced in your gut. So 80% of your immune system's in your gut, and also your serotonin's from your gut. So that's saying it's a gut feeling. That's really what it is, right? You've got to pay attention to that. So Chinese hawthorn actually helps with digestion. So he has that in Snooze and Restore. And that's one of the things that ends up happening with adrenal fatigue is when you are chronically stressed, or if you're getting chased by a bear, you lose your kid in the mall. I've lost my kid in the mall. Your adrenals
Same
spike,
feeling.
your adrenals release your cortisol, your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up, your fight or flight, right? In that moment, your reproductive system shuts down, your digestive system shuts down. So, because you're not going to eat a sandwich if you're getting chased by a bear. So the thing is that if that's constantly pumping out that cortisol, that's where digestion issues end up happening, right? And then that's going to affect your estrogen. So that's why that's all kind of interconnected.
Oh, vicious cycle.
Yeah, so that's why we put the Chinese hawthorn in there. And the other ingredient that's really unique is bacopa. So it has 300 milligrams of bacopa in here. And you can buy bacopa on its own for almost the same price as this, with all these other great components in it. So that's mental clarity. It helps reduce inflammation in the brain. sorry, if you're somebody who loses their keys all the time, really helps with that too. And they've done studies with people with epilepsy as well, with seizures and ADHD. So it's a really cool flower. And then astragalus again is in this one for that lung tonic. And then the snooze, it's kind of like Restore's little sister, and that's the nighttime support product. I call it my 3 a.m. solution. I find most people, when they're having difficulty sleeping, they either have a hard time getting to sleep or they wake up at 3 a.m. So if you're a person who wakes up at 3 a.m. like myself, I just keep it beside my bed, because some nights I don't wake up. And if I do, I roll over, I take one, I go back to sleep. So there's no melatonin in it, so you don't have that heavy sleep hangover. So that's been it's done really, really well. And these two actually work really well together.
So what is the main ingredient in the sleep support? Because I think when people hear sleep support right away, they start to think, melatonin and all the other different types of sleep things. So what is the main ingredient in that?
We have valerian, we have the Chinese hawthorn, again, to help with digestion. And there's also Chinese hawthorn has stress support claims as well behind it. So we have valerian, passion flower, L-theanine, magnesium. We've also got B5 in there too. So it's just a really great all around, and GABA, sorry. So really great all around formula for that one. No, sorry, the B5 is in the Restore, sorry about that one. So those two together are a really nice kind of combination. Mm-hmm. The feedback we're having from snooze, increased REM, people just feeling really fantastic at the end of a sleep, which is really nice to hear, and no sleep hangover. So if you did take it at 3 a.m., you're back up at 6 and off to the gym, and you're not struggling at all.
Yeah. Sleep is another big one, because sometimes you got, you're on the go all day long. You're like, I don't feel tired. I'm not tired. Right. And I get that too. But then what people don't realize is that if you're not getting enough sleep, how your body reacts and how things start to shut down after a little while. I mean, I can get away with, and you and I both, when we're in contest prep, when we're training for something, whatever, I mean, I can get by with 4 hours of sleep for a very short period of time, right? I still feel good. I still feel awesome. But when I start to get that less and less sleep, and I'm on day 5, day 6, you really start to feel that. And for me, I start to feel the brain fog. I start to feel that, you get up in the morning and you're foggy and you can't really think, you can't focus. I'm not hungry. Your appetite's all messed up. Either I'm starving and I eat one meal and then I'm not hungry for another 10 hours. So I try to really, really emphasize the importance of sleep, because people start to get the training down properly. They get the diet down properly, but then they're still up watching Netflix till 1 a.m. and they're not sleeping properly. So that's a huge thing, especially for women in the hormones. Sleep is important.
Yeah. Well, and when you're, but when your cortisol also is up, right? So when you're constantly stressed, that's why the Restore idea, it actually suppresses your melatonin. So one of the other reasons with snooze is we actually have components in there to help with stress, and then also help your body produce more melatonin. That's the idea behind it. I don't like melatonin. I'm not a fan. I have really bad sleep hangovers, and I have the weirdest dreams when I take melatonin. I just don't like how I feel the next day. So that was really the purpose behind having valerian in there instead, right? It was to have something a little bit different that's going to put you in that nice rested state, but not going to affect kind of how you feel the next day. So I think that's really important, right? So you can kind of kickstart. And then the last one I'll talk about is Reset. This is our hormonal detox. So the reason this product kind of came to be is there's a lot of women, and I was on the birth control pill for many years. And when I came off my hormones, I was just so far out of whack. I was way worse than I was when I first started on the birth control pill. And that's also that's actually the leading cause of estrogen dominance when we're talking about estrogenic factors, right? So Reset is really designed for women. The idea really behind it is women coming off the birth control pill. I mean, that was really the idea. You can take it, even if I take it, I did a 3 month of this when I'm finishing my last bottle. So I recommend people to do 3 months of this and then take one of the Reclaim and one of these every day. It supports your liver. It's going to help flush out any extra metabolites, estrogenic metabolites, and then just carry on with Reclaim. So it's a really good way to kind of liver detox. Yeah. But that was really the kind of idea behind this. And the interesting thing I found, so when you get up between 1 and 3, they usually say that's overloaded liver, right? That's a time when your liver is trying to process everything. So when I started taking this one a day, I didn't wake up. I've had the best sleep probably ever. And so what I've realized is that I probably have a super overloaded liver, because one day I didn't take it, and I'm not joking, I woke up at 3. So I rolled over and took a snooze, went back to sleep. But I was kind of like, that's really interesting. So I sent it out to a couple other girls, and I was like, give me your feedback on this. Do you find you sleep better by having something like this, right? So it really kind of goes to show, at least proves at least how important hormonal health is in your sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important to deal with all that and make sure your hormones are healthy, and that will obviously lead to a better sleep as well. So.
Awesome.
But yeah, so,
all these products are fantastic in the sense that there's really no magic type pill here. This is all natural products, and a lot of the products, like I said earlier, I recommend taking a lot of these products to a lot of my athletes, to a lot of my clients, and just to people who ask me for advice in general. And I'm sure you do the same. So, to have them all in one like that, and knowing what they do, is really important, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to just, hear about it, or somebody says, oh, I took this and I feel awesome, but to actually understand what they are and what they do in your body, it's really, really important. So
yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of women ask me, which one do I take? And I would honestly say, I mean, Reclaim to me is the champion product. If you are, I think if you are coming off the birth control pill, or you're feeling like you're super estrogenic dominant, then I would probably recommend taking Reset with it.
Mm-hmm.
But Reclaim as well has, obviously with the calcium glucarate, has the liver detoxifying properties in there as well. So
yeah,
this was just, there was a product I heard about, and I Googled it. It's called, there's a birth control cleanse they have. And I sent it to Don. Don's like, there is nothing in here that's birth control cleansing. Like, he was like, what is this? Right. And so it's not a Canadian product, obviously. And so that's why kind of Reset was born, is I just saw that there was a need for women who are trying to transition off the birth control pill.
Yeah.
And then, so this would be something they could take for 3 months and then transition into Reclaim. And that's going to help give them that balance that they were seeking in, synthetic hormones or synthetic.
And they were looking for that in getting on the pill and stuff like that.
Right.
Right. So,
and then the Chinese Hawthorn, the St. John's wort helps with mood too. So to help keep that mood stable afterwards.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I also read here too. So you kind of touched on a couple times. You've touched on bulimia, and I know that you wrote a book called Bulimia to Balance. So kind of give us a little bit of insight into how it started for you and how you came out of that.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was a bodybuilder, amateur bodybuilder, and my mom was a figure skating coach. So athletics and aesthetics, very much aesthetics, were always really important in our household. And so I was always the overweight kid. I was always teased. My parents homeschooled me for a number of years because I was teased, and which now with homeschooling my daughter, I have a much more bigger appreciation for my mother taking that task on.
Yeah.
But I remember being in grade 8 or 9, there was a classmate of mine that had a sister who was struggling with anorexia and bulimia, and he was basically saying she was so skinny and the family was worried about her, and he kind of told me what bulimia was, and I'm like, wait a second, so she eats whatever she wants and she's skinny? And I was like, the light bulb moment, I'm like, this sounds good. Yeah. And so I went home that day, and that was the very first time I did it. And so I battled with it for about 25 years. And so when I started doing fitness competitions, the only time I didn't actually binge and purge was when I was competing, which is why I kept doing show after show after show, because it was the only chance, because I was so strict and everything was so measured, I would never go off plan. But the second the show was over, I would tumble back into this, pattern again.
Yeah.
And so it really kind of came to my aha moment when Michaela would have been about 2 or 3. We had moved out into our home here. And I had, it's every Monday I was going to stop, or every birthday, or every New Year's. It's kind of the same as a diet, really. And so if somebody hasn't struggled with eating disorders, what they can resonate with is I'll get to it tomorrow, right? That thing. And then you mess up once and you're like, oh, forget it. I'll do it the next day. So it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And I had, cake batter was a weakness for me. So I had made some cake batter, and before I knew it, I'd eaten like the whole bowl. And then I started going to cookies and went the whole pattern again that I'd always done. Went upstairs to purge, and she knocked at the door. And kind of what happened in the moment when I rose up and I looked at my reflection in the mirror, because I'd seen it lots, the vomit and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what I realized in that moment is if I didn't get a hold on this, that little girl on the other side of the door would probably have an eating disorder as well. And that was the real kind of catalyst for change. And when I went downstairs, I realized I have to get a hold on this. Like, my mom has been a counselor for many, many years. And so the book, when I look at it, I really started working through what I needed to do with cognitive behavioral therapy. I looked at thoughts, create feelings, create actions. I started making my meals, and they actually suggest this a lot of the time, people with eating disorders, is I had my meals every day, because I operated really well in that when I did shows.
Yes, just like, exactly. I was just going to say, just like competition mode, right?
The plan, right? I had to have a plan. I had to have a plan in place. I made my meals. I took all trigger foods out of my house. We didn't make cake for years in my house. I didn't have popcorn and things like that because I knew I got triggered by it. And it took me a couple of years to get to a place where I am fully fine with food. And I changed the way I viewed bulimia, because it became my friend. Because what I understood now is when that shows up for me, I'm not paying attention to something. It's that nudge of, hey. And I think that's the same with alcoholism or drug use or whatever your release is, online shopping. When that shows up for you, it's your body, it's your mind kind of saying, you need to pay attention to something here. You're not being kind to yourself. You're not being compassionate. And so making bulimia my friend, because and shifting the mindset around that was a really big opportunity for me to then step into a new relationship with food and my body. So it's interesting now to look back and think, I mean, I don't struggle with it anymore. And if I do have, if I am stressed, I can catch myself. I'll see myself all of a sudden, because that's my thing, right? Food's been my thing. So I'll catch I'm like, oh shit, I'll put it down. I'll walk around the complex, come back in. Okay. Let's, I have to really change the state, right? Anthony Robbins talks a lot about that change it immediately, move up, walk away, and then make a choice to do something different. Right.
And you don't, I was watching one of your videos, your IGTVs, where you talk about going back to that dieting, right?
Yeah.
The dieting. So and as athletes, we fall into that. I fall into that as well too, where it's like, okay, I don't look the way I want to look. I don't feel the way I want to look. I got to diet. I have to diet. And I think that's a really big thing now is, people always feel like they have to be on a diet in order to be successful in losing weight or how they look or how they feel. And diet has taken on such a bad look. Like, even when I hear the word diet, I don't like it. I'd rather say nutrition, right? But we find ourselves always going back to that. I got a photo shoot, or, I got a wedding this weekend or whatever. I got a diet to look good. Right. And I think, getting that mentality out and saying, okay, I don't have to diet. I just have to eat. I have to be aware of what I'm eating at all times and eating healthy and staying focused on that, as opposed to saying I have to diet, because it shouldn't be that yo-yo back and forth. Right.
No. And I think the thing too, is when you have taken and you would understand this as well, but when you've taken your body to a competitive state, the thing is, when young girls I meet, and I've had a lot of girls like, oh, I'd love to compete, and do you think I should? And I'm like, do you have a healthy relationship with food in your body? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, don't, because you're going to hold yourself. And I'm not far away enough from that. It's been so many years that I don't hold myself at that expectation of what I'm supposed to look like. And even though it's not realistic, you still have this idea of, but I used to look like that. I should be that way. Right. And that's when I was probably my least happiest, because I was, depleted and exhausted and grumpy and hungry. And, but once you've taken your body there and you know what you can do, then there's always this kind of bar that you're like, I should do that. Right. And I think
that's what becomes a standard. Like, even, and I see it all the time with athletes, like, okay, we're competition ready, but I know where I can get to. So when the average person says, I'd like to have a 6-pack, they kind of mean I'd like to almost see the line in the middle of my abs. When I think I got to have a 6-pack, I got to be shredded. I got to be dry. I got to be 4% body fat. And we push ourselves to that level, regardless of if we have to go on stage or not. And that is a very unhealthy thing that we do as athletes. And, I'm actively competitive, and I find, in the off season, if I get too far off, I got to pull myself back in. Right. And I have to look a certain way, and I have to diet a certain way. But, for the average everyday person that just wants to feel good and look good, that's not a healthy mindset to have. Right. Yeah,
I agree. And it really does hold you. I mean, I still hold myself to, I think, a different, even though I've worked through it for years, there still is that, there's a desire to want to be that way. So that's still something that shows up for me. And I still have to really watch myself with that. Because you just look at old photo shoots, or you look at whatever, and you're like, and I'm like, but I know also too, that didn't bring me any more happiness than where I am today. Right. So, and I would, I've had a lot of people ask me if I'm going to compete again, which I wouldn't. I'd much rather do seminars and speaking, and that's more my platform, what I've stepped into. But there's still, every now and then I'll look at pictures and be like, oh, there's that little kind of like,
you remember how you felt when you looked like that. You remember, like, it's an addictive feeling. It is. I mean,
it really is.
And I've seen it get away from a lot of people, and I've seen them like lose relationships, lose jobs, family, over wanting to chase that all the time. Right. And
The thing too with competing, it is a very self-involved sport. Like it's all about you, right? Everything's all about you. And when you're going to the gym, 3-4 times a day or 3 times a day minimum, right? Like back and forth, and everything is about how much your food is and how much your weight is. Like everything. I look at the time it takes away from your family and from your friends, and so I think you have to be very, especially if you're somebody who struggled with eating disorders, I think it's definitely not what you ever need to step into. And I think looking as to why you're doing it, like, right, like that's to me is like, why are you doing it? Because you really want to challenge yourself, which I think is a great thing. Or are you looking at to make yourself, I guess, feel better about who you are, because you should be able to feel good about who you are exactly at this state. And so if this is going to be something as a, then that's a different measure. So. And
you said it right earlier. You better have a good relationship with food, especially. You better have a good, strong relationship with yourself, knowing that, okay, you know what, I'm going to go through this, but when I'm done, it's another phase of life. It can't just be always contest prep. It can't just be always, 3 times a day in the gym and, cardio and all this stuff like that. Like, yes, we want to stay healthy and fit in the off season, but like I said, it gets away from a lot of people. So you really have to have a good head on your shoulders and be happy with how you are now before you start, because you're going to love when you're in it, but you got to be okay with going back to who you are. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I just see a lot of girls too, who just do show after show after show, which I used to do, show after show after show. And I'm kind of like, okay, like, what are you going to be, like super grandmaster with your little walker going out there, like dazzled? I'm like, there's a point where it's like, okay, what is the purpose behind all this? And I think another big thing that was able to enable or made it easier for me to make the shift was also too, is that I was using my story to give back. So, because I think a lot of the time we have to look at what is our purpose and what is the opportunity in which we can share with others and help others. And so I was able to use my whole thing with competing as a way to kind of tell people, like, this is my journey. This is what I went through. This was not a healthy choice for me at all. I am who I am today because of it. So I'm happy I did it. But at the same time, if I could help some other girl who thinks that that's going to help her with her disordered eating, it's not, right?
That's awesome. That's a whole nother topic I'd love to discuss with you on another podcast, because my God, there's so many different things about competing, and not even just in bodybuilding, but in everything. I mean, I know friends who run marathons and do Ironman and triathlons and all that kind of stuff like that. It gets away from them too, right? So you got to have that, again, like we go back to that strong mental positive state of mind, and knowing that you can do that kind of stuff like that. So
exactly.
That's awesome. You've come through so much. You've done a lot. You've come through so much. I mean, your books, your products, your website, everything that you've done is awesome. So congratulations to you. I'm really, really, I love when hearing stories like this, because you came from one extreme and you came all the way to the other extreme, and you can look back and say, yeah, I did it, and I know what it felt like. And there's good parts about it. There's bad parts about it. And you want to talk about that now, right? You want to teach people, and especially coming from a woman's perspective to other women, not just who compete, but in general, the importance of taking care of yourself every day with your nutrition, with the products that you're using, because it affects us so much more than we know. Right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I was going to say, I'll give a code too. So for anybody who is listening, you can use the code RECLAIM20 on the website. You'll get 20% off anything you purchase. So anybody who wants to, who's listening or watches the podcast, who wants that, I'll give that code. You guys can use that code and get 20% off. And another thing that we do that I wanted to mention as well is, since I started the brand last February, a percentage of every single bottle goes to the Downtown Eastside Women's Shelter here on Hastings in Vancouver. So we did our first, we've done our donations all last year, and we just did our first quarter donation a couple of days ago. So that's awesome. A really important part of it, is not only creating products that consumers love and that they can utilize and that gives them benefits, but supporting my retailers to make sure that they also can make some great healthy margin, because that's a really important factor, because I work closely with them. And then also to have a give back component of conscious business. So it's been really neat to watch it all kind of come together, and I look forward to kind of keep growing it. So
that's awesome. Good for you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell everybody where they can get a hold of you, where they can contact you, your social media.
So it's, I'm Aeryon Bella Ashlie. So on Instagram, and then Aeryon Wellness is www.aeryon, Aeryon wellness.com. And as I said, they can have a 20% off. So use that code reclaim20 and feel free to use that. And thank you so much for having me today. This has been great. Gave me a chance to dress up in the middle of the COVID crisis.
We'll know where to go.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to go buy a chicken for our Easter dinner tomorrow. So
Oh, nice.
so that's my goal. That's my outing for the day.
Yeah, there you go. One a week, right? That's it. That's all
Exactly.
we do. So.
That's exactly it. I'm trying to resist to go out.
Oh, I know.
But,
It's not easy. It's not easy. Thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast today. And I hope everybody reaches out to you. Again, I'll put the code up on the podcast website there and all the information, and reach out to Aeyron directly if you guys want some more information. And I am Richie, your host. Thank you for being on our podcast again, Aeyron. And always remember, in a healthy body, there's a healthy mind.
RichBody, health, fitness, lifestyle.